Anyway, that will do it for our Crypt of the Necropony showcase here. And you can hear from that little sound, we're going to go ahead to our video segment. And of course, with our video segment, it means that we got plenty to catch up on. Because every time I try to get things done, things don't happen. But either case, this just also means more fun for all of us, right? You could drag him back. Not bad. Just kick. Yeah, we're going to kick him. We'll definitely kick him. Oh, you literally kicked him. Where did you kick him? How do I bring him back?
He's not.
What, did he kick him from the entire Discord? Oh my god, that's amazing! So, it's not on my screen. Thank you. Oh, I love it.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, wow. Don't mess with Commander. He will exercise his powers. Don't estimate his powers.
Oh god, does he need to have the roll put back on so he can join this call?
Oh, yes.
Should we? Oh, I'll just drag him in for now until I get that figured out. Alright,
Wait, is he muted or can he not talk?
okay. He's technically muted, but it's not of his volition, I'm pretty sure. I'll take it. I'll get him figured out in a moment. Let's go ahead and go with our video segment here while we get that figured out. Starting off with everything wrong with Forever Philly, because why not? It's been forever since we did one of these. Why not put one in?
Really? Maybe you don't know me at all. La 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 la. Oh, I know.
I can't believe the winter to spring transition is almost here.
Either winter wrap-up came early, or Rarity's shop is really running behind. One of the lesser-known reasons unicorns are OP is because of their ability to emulate a hard drawing surface mid-air.
Look, I know you're worried about something slipping between the cracks.
There are no cracks.
The best way to avoid something slipping between the cracks is to reject the existence of the crack to begin with.
Yes,
These
there's no such thing
fillies
as
are forever
cracks.
trapped in the least safe car of the train. Memories so precious to Rarity that she keeps them pristine and free of stains. Rarity, Yellow, and Lucas.
The poor.
I mean, I think that just means something's wrong with
Way
Rarity.
to immediately turn that around.
She needs to see a
Recognition doth
doctor.
not a sin undo. If this represents a typical mission for the CMC, their metric for success must be getting the cutie mark count higher than the accidental death count. Yes, that's always been there. The iconic Ponyville volcano.
What is this slab asking you to turn
Okay, we
This
all
slab
know
compared to
that.
what other slab, Applebloom? It's almost like these ponies are recording lines in a
It's
studio
good
without
how
the
they set
context of the
this
world
up.
around them or something. Chip Cutter would have struggled to use a chisel and hammer using just his mouth, but the chisel disappears anyway. Just as this block of stone magically changes size, so does Chip's wings. The ever elusive 2-for-1 sin. You're welcome.
Right about now. Wow, you are good.
Applebloom is impressed by a unicorn performing a magic trick. Zipper points to her cutie mark and accidentally performs a gesture which isn't safe for TV.
You've come to the right place. The Cutie Mark Crusaders are on the job.
Missed opportunity for an obvious rhyme. Rarity shoves a child. It's still rude, even if it's merely the soft impact of a marshmallow. Rarity's horn phases through her mane.
You sure you two can handle our client here?
Speaking of the client, Zipperwill seems to disappear for a moment. Then again, maybe she's just keeping well clear of Rarity. Rarity breaks the sacred fashion horse oath and messes up some pony's mane,
Look at this wall of satisfied customers.
including the customers we brainwashed into satisfaction. The puppet master is apparently a headless horse. Which was more difficult, animating one quadruped dragging another quadruped, or doing so in a way which satisfies broadcast standards and practices so the target demographic won't do the same to their own pets?
Banana peels are so very, very slippery.
Maybe if you live in a cartoon world, Rarity.
Where is here?
You need a
What's
lot
wrong,
of lube.
Sweetie Belle? Don't
Otherwise,
recognize the iconic Ponyville ice cream shop, which has always been here?
And I convinced the original owner to come out of retirement.
Considering the true meaning of retirement in Equestria, Rarity performs necromancy just to enjoy some ice cream. Rarity arranged things off-screen earlier, but insists upon generous payment in front of Sweetie Belle to flex her immense wealth.
I know you're dying to dig in.
Careful, Rarity. You can't use that word in a kid's show. Sweetie is actually destruction to dig in. How convenient for the A plot and the B plot to never be more than a stone's throw apart.
It's like Rarity doesn't even know me anymore. I wish we could say our day is going better.
Sorry to hear about your relationship with your big sister going down the drain, but our failed attempt to play with some random dog is a much bigger bummer than that. The dog's aging since we last saw him is a central part of the story. However, an apple a day really went a long way for little Winona to remain ageless for 9 seasons. No pony waits in line after Rarity, because once the adults want something, it's no longer cool. Or maybe they all live in the Truman Show, and there was no need for a line once this part of the story was fulfilled.
Seems
Well,
like
they're not wrong.
Puppy doesn't want anything to do with her.
Oh man, if only we knew some pony who could talk to animals. Good thing this photographer has a dark room just behind that tree over there.
That's
Rarity and Sweetie Belle
concerning.
freeze while the camera pans to the B plot before they later resume right where they left off. Either that, or Rarity was just gasping in shock the entire time.
I can't believe Sweetie Belle talked to me like that.
This is nothing like the good old days when we never raised our voices at each other.
Woof, woof. It's Zipperwoo. Woof.
Remember the time Apple Bloom did a chicken call and everyone branded Scootaloo as one? Now that Apple Bloom is barking like a dog, where are the Scootadog memes?
Scootaloo.
I don't think
Should
so.
have changed.
Rarity remarks about needing to change, as if it would take more than the half a second she spends taking it off later. Rarity talks to herself at great length for the benefit of an outside observer.
You don't still play with the same toys from when you were a fool, do you?
Do you mean to tell me you don't run out to the store and buy the latest colorful plastic every time they release a new Funko Pop? Rarity's little known side hustle is selling camouflage to equestrian soldiers hiding amongst the flowers. Zipperwill has paw prints as a cutie mark and somehow never thought to try the most basic dog plaything of all time.
What would a grown pony like you want to do?
Why, visit the iconic Ponyville liquor store, of course. The episode about Rarity and Sweetie Belle spending the day together spends almost half of the episode showing them doing their own separate things with other ponies.
It's your favorite part.
It is time for a new day in Equestria.
Alright, now women.
Once upon a time, in the magical land of Ponyland.
Just women, man.
I frolicked 3 times today. The little ponies lived in peace and harmony.
Oh,
until
no.
one day.
What the heck?
Oh no, not the Stratodons.
You are all doomed. Your friends now belong to Lord T-Rack at 5 minutes past 4 Castle.
That mean old Tyrant, he's always taking our women and children. I've got an idea. Let's get a woman child to help us. Yeah!
You know what? This
5
is
minutes past 4
funny as
Castle.
hell.
So,
Good on
running
you, people.
For me, Scorpan.
Yes, my lord. I have brought you ponies from Dream Castle.
Why?
Well, I thought you liked them.
No, I'm not 5. Take them away.
Oh.
Now I just feel really emasculated. This is the worst birthday ever.
Later, after a negotiations with a child.
But you gotta help us beat up T-Rex. I'll give you oats, sugar cubes.
Firefly finally convinces the human Megan to assist in the pony's endeavor.
Look, everybody, this is Megan, a real live human being.
Well, actually, it's...
Wow! Can you show us your fingers? Do a thumbs up.
No, I'm not doing that. And so, the ponies set off on their quest.
The Moochick has special powers. He'll help us defeat Tic Tac.
Great, awesome. So you just didn't need me at all then. Great.
Whoa! Whoa! Applejack.
Ah, jeez.
This will not become a theme with anyone named Applejack.
Oh, no way!
Oh dear, looks like our heroes have found themselves in a sticky wicket. Will they be able to escape and save their friends? Find out next time.
Hey everyone! Before we dive in, I just want
And
to say
now,
thanks
after
for
the
your
fact
patience
that
and
we haven't
support.
had in a
If you enjoy
long
my
time.
videos, then please subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, hit that bell notification icon, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. And now, on with the show.
The funny thing is I've actually had this in my Chrome tabs for years,
I've
months
never turned
and
in a book
months.
even a minute late, and this one has been overdue since I left for Ponyville.
Hold the slightly implied to exist phone. Why do I feel like I've been here before? Checking my memory for cartoon plot lines. Searching. 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 Aha! Bingo. Though these aren't the same
Oh
story,
God, I feel
am
old.
familiar with the shared premise. So just for fun, let's do a little compare and contrast between Twilight Sparkle's quest to return a book and Bill and Ted's adventure to meet a pair of authors.
Oh yeah, I remember this now. We're from the 90s, dude!
I suppose some context is in order. With all the reboots, sequels, pre-sequel reboots, and hard resets in Hollywood, it's pretty common to say that they're out of ideas. But if you were watching Saturday morning cartoons back in the day, you'd realize that's been a problem for a while. Plenty of movies got their own cartoon series. Sometimes it worked well, like with The Real Ghostbusters or Men in Black. I'd argue that the TV series were actually better than the movie sequels. Then you got cartoons like Free Willy.
Yeah. There's a... What?
There is no follow-up to that. I feel it's
How is that a thing?
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures fall somewhere in the middle. It continues the story of Bill S. Preston and Ted Theodore Logan, two aspiring rockers who don't know that their music will pave the way to an idealistic society. World peace, environmental restoration, access to alien worlds. They're basically the opposite of Death Clock.
We are the most brutal band in the world.
Be excellent to each other.
Go forth and die!
Party on, dudes!
To ensure this grand future, the time-traveling agent Rufus grants them a machine disguised as a
I
public
miss George
telephone
Carlin.
booth.
What?
And
Yep.
they gallivant through time, meeting friends and foes.
What?
Plus, in the sequel movie, they get to meet some aliens, battle evil cybernetic replicas, and even cheat death. That's the grand thing about storytelling. Depending on the crafting, similar elements can produce a wildly different tale. And there's some grand humor running through all this because these two chuckleheads are some of the least likely world saviors, which only makes it more fun. By contrast, if we're going to watch a chosen one or destined individual story, Twilight Sparkle is the kind of character I'd like to watch. She's intelligent and sometimes proud, but also kind and empathetic. She's eager to learn, curious about the world, and able to function on her own or in a group. Despite some low points, I've enjoyed the idea of her being in charge. Now that she's about to assume the throne, it's nice to have a romp where she gets to tackle her own personal issue, along with an oft-celebrated cameo.
We just had a really heavy delivery today.
I don't know if our dear Muffin Mare's first speaking role would have sparked as much controversy if it were more like this. Some slapstick and interaction, but no hostility. Oh, and we get the return of the Spike burp.
Really? She couldn't have put it into the box?
And to miss a chance to harken back to earlier seasons? I think not. But all's not well, as there's a library book that's long overdue, by an undisclosed passage of time. I still think that the very first episode on through Princess Twilight takes place within 1 year. After that, I'm not so sure. Equestria always seems to work on an accelerated timetable, so events I would expect to take months happen in mere days. Regardless, I have no idea just how long that book is overdue. Twilight has a list of concerns around this, including monetary.
I didn't even think about the late fine.
Which is where we jump back to Bill and Ted and their episode, A Grim Story of an Overdue Book. A similar problem sets the stage for their central conflict.
Theodore A. Logan, you're charged with not returning a library book. A violation of Section 475.3
Holy
of the Dewey
shit,
Decimal
he's
System.
got shoulder
That's
for
not how the Dewey
days.
Decimal System works.
Yep.
We all know its true purpose is to aid an alien brain invasion.
Your decimal system has played right into my hands.
You checked out Little Red Riding Hood by the Brothers Grimm 10 years ago and never returned it. Total fines and penalties add up to over $35,000.
Huh. By contrast, Twilight's late fees can't be that bad.
A book out this long will probably cost 1,000 bits.
Now see, if you take the current value of the bit, average it against the trade values of other countries, adapt for inflation and run through the current stock value, that comes to... heck if I know, because this is all just a step away from Monopoly money. As outlandish as all this sounds, real life will always be that much stranger. A man in Cooper's Cove of Central Texas faced jail time for a 3-year overdue GED study guide. Another man in Des Moines, Iowa spent over a week in jail for failing to return over $770 worth of library books and CDs. And as recently as 2019, a woman in Charlotte, Michigan lost out on a promotion and went on suspension because the library issued a warrant for her 2-year late fee. Those overdue books, Where the Sidewalk Ends and Night. The late fees were $72.30.
What?
The possible legal fines? 93 days in jail or paying $500. But here's where the first real comparison comes into play. Who is the comedy source in these stories? While Bill and Ted may have comedic surfer boy mannerisms, they are the least comedic element. Instead, much of the absurdity lies with the historical figures they encounter, like George Washington.
This is George Washington live at Valley Forge. Now back to you, Chet.
Or Davy Crockett.
Remember the Alamo!
What the hell is
Davy
that?
Crockett died defending the Alamo. It's part of why the saying became a rallying cry. Yeah, if you're looking for historical accuracy, Saturday morning cartoons were not the way to go. But the
Let's
point
see,
remains
Judd,
that the comedy
I
for this
think,
show mostly lies in meeting absurdist
honestly, I don't know
characters
on
in
that
history.
one.
Bill and Ted are proxies for the audience, representing the current perspective. By contrast, Twilight is the absurdist character, trying to sneak her way through everyday Canterlot.
I'm the princess of friendship. Everywhere I go, ponies recognize me.
I still remember season 4 Twilight. Pony powers of perception pivot perilously upon plurality.
Princess Twilight! So good to see you!
Ah, well, that's some progress. Instead, the audience's representation comes through Spike in his commentary. As ever, he is a good counterpart to Twilight.
You sniffed books?
Do you not?
But this isn't the case, because one librarian shakes up the whole dynamic.
Oh, wow. Yeesh.
After 8 whole seasons of Twilight Nanas, I've gotten used to the sight. But getting to see other ponies matching her reaction? That's a new one.
You need to go and see First Folio in the grossly overdue book return office for ponies who should know better.
Wow.
One sec, Twilight. This requires an effective application of passive aggression. Oh, I'm so very sorry that Princess Twilight Sparkle, future ruler of Equestria, forgot to return a book while saving the world from eternal nights. Goodness knows that a late collection of dead trees is far more odious than eternal nights. Since you're a fan of reading, why not read the flavor text on this card? Nightmare Moon would have burnt a whole library of books to make sure that the sun could never be raised. A horrible act, but I can't fault it for villainous efficacy. Plus, all those book fires would have at least been an okay reading light during eternal night. But really, I am grateful for this shift.
Oh man, I love that.
The sole oddball to trying to navigate an even more eccentric world. Spike is still our proxy while also being versed with Twilight's own conscience. But now it's not simply a Twilight meltdown. We're learning about a rather intensive subculture alongside her. Twilight's obsession goes from a comedic aspect to a driving force as she searches Canterlot for First Folio, who has the authority to end this challenge. This includes a trip to Restaurant Row and the Tasty Treat. While it's unfortunate we don't get a cameo by Saffron Marsala and Coriander Kumar, it is good to see their restaurant so healthily attended. Shows that Pinky and Rarey's efforts weren't wasted. So, who's in attendance?
Moon Dancer, how have you been?
Moon Dancer is rather critical as she and First Folio relay that the former head librarian had to retire after her perfect return record was ruined. It's a parallel to Moon Dancer's own difficulty after feeling shunned. Turns out Twilight's departure for Ponyville was a monumental event in more ways than 2. And again, we're faced with a seemingly absurdist response to a late book, but real life provides a contrast. To quote Sue Padilla, director of the Newton Library, "We try to be good stewards of those things that were purchased with taxpayer funds." There's a real push
glad to hear the powers
on
up
how to
tech.
handle late books that represent an investment. Texas, for example, has reported over $18 million worth of lost library materials. This is still, I think, an exaggeration, but it's surprising how close it mirrors real life. Though this revelation causes a shift in Twilight's goals. One of Twilight's recurring flaws is that she tends to link her sense of self, often referred to as the ego, to her roles or accomplishments. She sees herself as intelligent, so she couldn't accept being unable to explain Pinky sense. She was Celestia's star pupil, so missing a friendship report was too great a blow. When she became Princess of Friendship, she started to expect herself to have all the answers or to fulfill all missions. Thus, she would even go so far as Grand Theft Pearl. This perfect library record is yet another example.
She had a perfect librarian record until one careless pony didn't return a book, ruined it all.
Dang! Canterlot librarians are hardcore. I used to think Twilight's perfectionism came from trying to live up to her perception of Celestia. Given what I'm seeing with these Canterlot ponies, I wonder if it's more of a cultural pressure. After all, they're bombarding her with the message that it's all Twilight's fault. So now we're following Twilight on a mystery as she tries to find out where Dusty Pages moved after leaving the library.
She moved to Silver something. Shoals, seas, surfer, whatever.
Thank you. Meathead Pony? Wow. Staff sure shortchanged him. But hang on. Silver Shoals? Where have I heard that before?
I, for one, am looking forward to a little R&R. Maybe a trip to Silver Shoals.
I'm not going to make assumptions, but I am going to pocket that idea for later. Regardless, now it's no longer Twilight being the oddball in a marginally sane world. Instead, she's stepping into the unknown alongside Spike, and we're along for the ride, which mirrors Bill and Ted's journey, at least in the setup. In a show about time travel, one would think that Bill and Ted would scroll the book away from Ted's younger self and return it for him, but the rules state that they can't interfere with their own timeline, even though that is exactly what they did in the movie. So much like Twilight, they venture into unfamiliar territory and seek to acquire a copy of the Red Riding Hood from the Brothers Grimm themselves.
Makes sense to me.
Problem is that this presentation of the brothers features them at odds, and on the verge of being arrested. So they flee into the time stream, meeting the aforementioned historical figures, and nearly getting the Brothers Grimm either captured or killed several times.
Must find a way to rescue the Grimms, or they will never write my missing library book.
And time will also unravel since you two just displaced two keynote figures. But Bill and Ted are very singularly minded. Don't get me wrong, they can be fun to watch, but Twilight is both fun and interesting because her motives evolve. So with no clear destination in sight, they visit every Silver location they can imagine, even Silver Stream.
We're also talking
I can't imagine why.
We're also talking like 30 years of like evolution and
But
story
eventually
writing.
the two make
for
their way to
cartoons.
Silver Stables
True.
community.
Very true.
And I am so relieved that this
In
is
the
not
early
Silver
90s, it was
Shoals of
basically
which
just like,
Princess Luna spoke.
we'll
She may be
take the
retiring,
one
but
note
I
of the
think
character
she's a
that,
good couple
that
of
people
centuries
will
away from
like.
a retirement home where they have plein air painting, windsurfing,
Oh, we
yoga,
still kinda get that
woodworking,
nowadays.
band practice, fruit war
Not
zones.
as
Okay, you know
much,
what?
no.
Forget what I said. If I live long enough to reach retirement, this is where I want to go. This is so refreshing to see. More often than not, I see a cynical take on getting older and being in a retirement community.
All day long, we'd play bingo, eat oatmeal, and wait for our children to call.
This senior center has given us all something besides death to look forward to.
Hey, Tara.
I've made jokes about getting older as well, but there are times where I wonder if we're being way too negative about living a long life. This episode doesn't skimp on some jokes about the elderly, including random nap time, but also goes a long way to show that getting older isn't the end of an adventure. And when Twilight finally meets Dusty Pages, she starts to learn something.
Now I'm not afraid to try things I might fail at. In fact, sometimes messing up teaches me more than getting it right.
Which leads to a big lesson, preceded by a sub-lesson. Don't let a goal obscure what's right before you.
Perfection. The impossible pursuit.
Wow, what kind of series would this have been if Twilight actually read that book? Regardless, it's here where we get to talk about the theme of unintended consequences. Twilight committed 2 errors the day she left.
Vaguely, no! We're all millennials! We'll never
Moondance went into seclusion and needed some help to admit her feelings and work through them. Dusty Pages felt a thrill and began to embrace life and failure, and is now providing the lesson to Twilight. In both cases, I don't think you can fully blame or credit Twilight. There was no malice in missing Moondancer's party or forgetting that library book. It's more a study of how even a small axe can ripple throughout both culture and time. Speaking of time, Bill and Ted had their own unintended consequences. Getting imprisoned by George Washington at Valley Forge leads to some strange inspiration.
They're all pretty grumpy, sleepy, and that one was dopey even before he joined on.
What possible inspiration could you derive from a snow-white Fraulein and 7 short soldiers living in the woods like this?
Subtle. Well, how about when they get attacked by a bear and saved by Davy Crockett?
A story about a bear. He lives in a house in the woods.
Then whisked into the far future.
The bear and the 3 most important people.
Last but not least, they meet Lady Godiva. She's clothed in a red cloak and hood, and judging by her feet and bare legs, along with the legend around her, not much else. Wow, they're running with this. For those who don't know, Lady Godiva, the Countess of Mercia, opposed her husband's brutal taxation so much that he made a deal. He would remit all the tolls if, and only if, she rode through the town of Coventry completely naked. Lady Godiva accepted this public humiliation, bidding that all the townfolk stay indoors and close their shutters. The people recognized that she was doing this on their behalf and obeyed. Knowing that, this line isn't terribly funny.
Sorry, your most bodacious buffness.
Bill and Ted should count their blessings. A tailor by the name of Thomas stole a look at Lady Godiva and was struck blind by the wrath of heaven. I can't tell if I should be upset at this casual voyeurism. This is, after all, the legend that coined the phrase Peeping Tom. Or if I should be impressed at how they got this past the censors.
Little Red Riding Cape.
Maybe it's good that Bill and Ted aren't the brightest bulbs, because this whole story is a love song to predeterminism. Anyway, while the external events have been high on absurdist and cartoonish danger, the emotional conflict has been between Wilhelm and Jacob Ludwig Karl. One wants to write folk tales, the other wants to bore folks.
We write books about grammar, like this one, Famous Verbs in History.
While I may not get outraged about how badly the show represents actual history, I do feel the need to clarify this. The Brothers Grimm did not invent folk tales. They collected them as part of an academic and romantic nationalism endeavor. The brothers believed that a folklore collection, once a declining oral tradition, could help support a sense of a national identity. So
yeah,
I
that
think
is
they
true.
predicted sports fans, wrestling fans, Trekkies,
Let's
movies,
pretend with let's just call us all
Star Wars
millennials,
fans,
to be
brown
honest.
coats, bronies, and much, much more way in advance. The brothers were themselves librarians, writers, and teachers. They did work on grammar and dictionary publications, but didn't look down on folk tales. If anything, I think they understood that stories are vessels for ideas.
Exactly.
An idea is pure and powerful and often too brilliant to be seen unadorned. We'd go as blind as that peeping Tom. So what do? We craft stories. We clothe them in characters, situations, and conflicts so that the core idea can be witnessed. And what are the core ideas between these two takes on the late library book story? Well, let's consider a few things. Both feature a culture that takes book lending very seriously, partly for comedic effect, but also reflecting a real-life conflict that isn't often discussed. Both feature a far-reaching journey and encountering eccentric personalities. Both address the concept of unintended consequences, and yet I would not say that they are the same story, mostly owing to how the characters grow or fail to do so. Bill and Ted don't so much mend the rift between brothers as they simply turn it off through a misunderstanding.
It will only be most outstanding if you put a grandmother in it.
There will be grammar in it?
And that's all it takes. The brothers write Little Red Riding Hood, and Bill and Ted return to the library with the time-displaced first edition.
This is the original hand-written manuscript.
Of course, since it's freshly printed, it wouldn't look anything like what a modern-day librarian would accept as genuine. But it clears the debts and leaves Bill and Ted free to go on their way, until...
Bill S. Preston, Esquire. 12 years ago, he checked out Poopsie Whoopsie and the Itsy Bitsy Bunny Rabbit.
I look at Bill and Ted, and I find that they haven't changed a bit over this story. They didn't learn anything about cooperation, endurance, courage, or humility from these historical figures, absurdist as they may be. So the real core idea I see here is that a past mistake will gain size over time and come back to ruin you. The only reason Bill and Ted make it out unscathed is because they are the chosen ones. Unless we dismiss it because the cartoon was inspired by a comedy, I want to point out that the movie did at least hint at change.
We traveled through time. I mean, we met lots of great leaders, and look at us. Nothing's different. Maybe we should start learning how to play.
I think a character, even in a comedy, should
And
emerge
then
at
that
least
man
slightly
went on
changed
to
from where
be
they
a
started,
hired killer.
like Twilight, who still has to face
And the
down
other
a library
one
fine.
went on to do Bill and Ted 3. Ow, that hurts to say.
Unlike Bill and Ted, Twilight doesn't have an
plugged out of the
out.
Matrix.
She's just got to face the
Yeah.
consequences and pay her dues.
Most ponies don't know it caps at a month. Probably because we don't tell them.
Amazing. All that drama and implied shaming, but they don't go for the wallet.
Letting the perfection go.
This is not the end of Twilight's struggle with her recurring flaw. She's going to have to stop linking her ego in other ways, such as winning a trivia contest or believing that, as princess, she has to know and handle everything. It's not a case of one lesson changing your whole life. But with each experience, Twilight changes in small ways, which add up and culminate in the series finale. Here and now, I found Twilight's quest fun, and the same is true for Bill and Ted. Their excellent adventure embraces absurdity, so I can't get too invested in historical accuracy, though not all the jokes hit home. Twilight's own quest doesn't reach the same level of ridiculousness, but I enjoy it more because it stays on target with this theme and actually conveys a lot of positive ideas. Ideas like getting older is nothing to fear, perfection is unattainable, and mistakes can be the best teachers. And even a negative outcome may not be as bad as envisioned. Add to that the chance to check in with some familiar characters, and Spike's role as a supporter and advisor. It's a very enjoyable journey. Not the standout of the season.
You know what? We'll go with that vaguely. We're all old and stupid. It doesn't matter what generation we are.
Best book borrower,
Plus, in all honesty, Millennial was made by marketers.
There are some things you can't question, Moondancer. She's one of them. I'm Silver Quill. Thanks for watching.
Am I the only one that kind of wants to get that image, print it on a big poster, and give it to Silver Quill just for the giggles?
I wouldn't say no.
Get that derpy?
Yeah, just a derpy image right there.
Okay, the
He
only
would
one I
love
know... The only one I actually know that might have any idea on printing would be Cole.
Wow, no, I mean, I know how to print it. I'm just getting the image would be the problem, because I would, unless somebody has a raw file of it, I would have to get it off of the video itself, unless I ask Silver Quill directly, and I'm not sure I want to do that if I'm trying to...
postage derpy itself.
Going there now.
Anyway, in the meantime, whether we find anything or not, that's up to me, that's up to us. What is also up to us is to wrap up for the evening. So let's get our closeout song in and get ready to wrap up another fun-filled episode. So, we got to try out Crypt of the Necropony. We got to have some fun. We got the biggest upset ever with Toakoi winning for some reason. But in
Somehow my soul got in there. I don't know how.
And tomorrow I got to change the tire. So anyway, let's go ahead and wrap it all up with shout-outs from everybody here. Starting off with Crazy Mac Captain.
Fires, explosions, Mufasa, venison jerky, all week long. Yeah, and, on Wednesday, we're hoping to get back into Satisfactory so that we can wrap up this playthrough before the update 8 hits, so that we can put it aside and wait until 1.0.
Alright, then
you know that
hopefully we don't have the rubber issue we were having.
Alright, then on to DM21.
Have a great week, stay healthy, and take care.
Then on to Toakoi.
Shouts out to all the lovely people. Thank you to Commander and CMC for being our moderators. Thank you to Twitch, YouTube, and our IRC chatters. Thank you to Commander for showing that you do not mess around with the dragon. The dragon will get you.
And on to Textalion.
Night all, and please don't take power for granted.
That's more poetic than you would ever believe. So then, now Suke, the taco ascended. Suki?
He's muted.
He might not even be there. Suki, if you're there, you're muted. Alright. I guess I'll go ahead and wrap it all up here. Thank you all thank you all very much for joining us for another episode of The Brony Show. Be sure to tune in this week on Wednesday for Winchester and his Wednesday crew doing Winchester Wednesday shenanigans. Tune in on Sunday for Circuit's Gaming Room with me on my streaming channel here on YouTube and also on my own personal Twitch. Working my way through all of the monsters of Monster Hunter Rise, which is slowly the list is getting whittled down. And along with that, reminder that on Monday, if you tune in an hour early, we have the pre-show with Cold Dust and pre-show crew doing Cold Dust and pre-show shenanigans. Always a fun time. And also, if you're watching us live, we have the Coffee House After Party on our Vaughn only, due to the fact that we just watch a bunch of YouTube videos and just goof around and have fun.
Yay, fun!
But yeah, be sure to, if you're watching us live, you can tune into that and just relax along with us and have some fun. Suki, are you back with your, for your shout out?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, going to bed. Night.
Good night.
Good night.
Alright, good night. And with that, let's get our shout outs to our IRC chatters that were able to come in finally. Commander Something, thank you for keeping an eye on chat. Then Kale Sakai, Cloud Conquest, Cool Dude, Fantastic Fred, Relay Serve, Sonic 5421, Techman, Tech Stallion the Second, Vaguely Creepy, and yay, Archivers. And just a big shout out to everybody, whether you're watching us through our stream on Twitch or on YouTube, or you're watching our archive when it's uploaded onto YouTube. However you catch the Brony Show, thank you. Thank you so much for spending the time, enjoying the couple hours that we have, putting up shenanigans, having fun and silly times. I'm hoping that the silly times can continue. I wish I was more certain about the future at the moment, but all I can do is hope for the best. Sorry to leave on a bit of a downer. It's just, you never know what the future will bring, and I'm really hoping that it brings good tidings all over. Anyway,
if I could right now, I would be playing the opening line from Future by Mystery Skulls.
Yeah, but don't do that. So
I know.
Instead, we're gonna go ahead and play "Drinks Caffeine Once" by BGM Pony Degeneracy. And I hope you all have a good night, everybody. We'll catch you next time. Peace out.
What did you say you drink? Right when I got a bell. Wait, come back.
What's that noise?
Have you heard the fastest speed?
Get off of me!
I'm telling all my friends in that mean team.
We're enemies, you don't.
I thought the secret spike that's in some
Why,
room.
well, stand there.
How about you guys in here to clean?
already.
We could feel especially up in the week. Several beats, my life's a burn. Faster needs, I think I said I'm also racist. Wonderful, fantastic, correct me. So here's a masterful amazing in this powerful caffeine.
You dare enter my hive and...
Sorry, Juicy, can't talk that around.
What?
Finally, you have the time of day. To hear the neat of things I have to say. I found something that's really truly great. To help a music pony stay up late. First I find fun, then tricky, then three, then four, then five. I knew it'd be such an addicting for almost everything they say is true. I feel like my whole brain's inflating. Think my heart is palpitating. Am I dying? Let's go racing, boy, and the caffeine. I feel like I could run forever. That time will be never ever. Caffeine is so much more better. So pony, please take a letter. Tell the princess, tell the city. Caffeine is the most befitting way of energy transmitting. Why is everything all spinning? Caffeine is my only need. I'll never ever go to sleep. I'm dizzy now. I need some more caffeine.